Hey guys, good morning. This is Gail of Jewel by Gail and the Jewel and 876 Documents. So today I am making this video to show how I cut freehand. Now whenever I post an outfit in a sewing group, generally on Facebook, somebody always says, or a few people say, you have to tell me what pattern that is. And I generally say, I don't use a pattern, I've never used a pattern, and there is no pattern for this particular outfit. And then somebody says, explain. I've promised quite a few of my friends and acquaintances from sewing groups that I would make a video showing how I cut. And I made a couple the other day for Instagram, but like that wasn't really showing up close. So today I'm going to attempt to show how I cut something freehand. Now this is not going to be a typical outfit. This is a very easy cut design that I am making today. It's not typical of any that I usually make. I am making this because I've had this fabric and I've wanted to make it, and I want this particular top for myself. If I get it all done today, then I will photograph it today. So stay tuned for the video. Hopefully I can capture it very well, because I am still, I've said this in the past couple of weeks, I'm still learning how to do this whole video tutorial thing. So stay tuned. Okay, so now we're recording. So I folded it in half. And this is the top, this is the top, this is the bottom, and these are the sides. Generally, I would fold going across along the warp threads, but because of what I'm making, I have folded it this way. Now, the top that I am making requires me to find the center top of my fabric. This is 28 inches. I have left 1 inch for turning up at the bottom because I'm going to run a string through the waist I will tie in the front. So I have left 1 inch for that. Now this is exactly the length of my blouse. That's it. I'm not cutting anything else off of the length. What you're looking at now is my fabric folded in half downwards along the weft thread. So it's folded down, and this is the front, and the underside is the back. Then after I folded it over, I went ahead and folded it across. Let me just open it up and show again instead of trying to explain. So this is the full length of my fabric. I've folded it downwards, which is along the weft thread, because my weft thread go across here. And then after I have this half, let me just make sure it's neat. Satin is, everybody will agree that satin is hard to work with. This satin is really nice because it has a little bit of stretch, so it makes it a little easier to lay. I didn't want to pick it up because it's hard to get it back. So now that I have it in half downwards, I fold it in half across again. And so now I have a nice little square. I'm going to put my weight on it. I didn't want to pick it up because then I have to get it back straight again. So my weft threads are over here, and this essentially is my center front. Whenever I'm cutting, you will always see that I cut from my center, I measure from my center front, and I cut from my center front. So this blouse is not gonna have an open shoulder. I am not opening the shoulder to make a slanted shoulder. That's not necessary. You may, if you have a shoulder that slopes, but this fabric will fall very nicely, so it does not need you to slope the shoulder. Now the first thing I'm going to do, once I come back in focus, I am going to measure from my center front, which is right here, the measurement for the front of my neck. The measurement for my neck. So from here to here because I'm only cutting a half of my garment. So I'm cutting everything from here downwards and across here. So from here to here, I measure for that, and I measure downwards. Still haven't decided if I am going to make this a wide neck. I think I will go with a wide neck. I've decided I will go with a wide neck. So in order to go with a wide neck, I need to go out from my measurement I already made about 3 inches. And I wouldn't generally measure this. I don't have to. I know what will fall off of my shoulder. So 3 inches out will still be on my shoulder. And then because I only measure to here, I have to measure like another 2 inches down because I don't want it to be up in my neck. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to say 2 inches. Then I draw a line connecting the two. 2 inches is a little too generous. I probably should have gone 1.5 inches. I haven't cut it yet, so I've left it. All right, so this is my front. Let me see if I can get up close. Sir, you should probably be able to see the line that I made. I don't want to make a strong black line on my fabric because I'm going to have to get it out. So this is my neckline. This is half of my front neckline. Now I need to cut the back. I've marked it. I'm not cutting it yet because if I cut all of this, I'm essentially going to be cutting my back and my front, and I do not want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my fabric. I need exactly this. Oh, I should have marked it. I need exactly what I have on this side to be mirrored on the other side. Let me close it up again. I should have marked it. So this is where I got to. Now I've opened it up. This is where my line was. And right here is where I marked this. So I am going to connect this side of the neckline to this side. And now I have a full neckline. Again, I don't know if you can see it clearly, but I have made both parts of my front neckline. Now, I also need to make my back. This is my center front. These are my two neckline pieces. And for the back, I only need to measure down 1 inch. So this is the top of my neck, and this is the center of the back of my neck. I'm going down 1 inch, maybe 2, since this is a off the shoulder. It's allowed to have, and then I'm going to connect the shoulder over here and the shoulder over here, and this is a marking I made when I was doing the front. So I'm going to join these two together with a good semicircle. I don't have what I've seen some sewists on Instagram with that curved ruler. I don't know anything about it. I don't have any of them. And now I am going to pin, because I'm going to cut this whole piece out and it's going to form my neckline. So I'm going to pin and cut. I will also pin over here to keep it from moving, and I will pin over here. Like I said, this satin has a little bit of a stretch, so it's a little bit easier to handle than a regular satin. I think I'm talking very low. All right, now I can cut. So I'll turn it over. I'll cut the back first. So I draw my crude neckline off of nothing without a ruler. My scissors are getting dull. Now I've cut out a neckline. So if I hold it up, you'll see I already have the makings of a neckline. However, this is just the back of my neck. The front of my neck is lower than the back. So now I'm going to cut off The rest of that line, let me see if I can get in close and show you the rest of the line that I had for the front. The neckline at the front is lower than the neckline at the back. So let's come in close, see if I can see it. So right here is the line I drew. Now I'm going to cut just this top layer, which is the front. I am not going to cut this layer because this is the back. I'll get a good videographer one day who will hold my camera and bring it in close and go out far and bring it in close. So now I've cut out an extra piece just to make the front of my neckline lower than my back. So this is what I have now. You'll see that this is my front neckline lower than my back, and because of how wide it is, it's going to become an off the shoulder, and I practically already have a blouse. Now I wouldn't generally cut a sleeve type situation, but I'm going to do that for this because the fabric is actually very wide and can facilitate some sort of a cut in for a sleeve. I don't need it, but I'm going to do it. I have another top just like this one, and I didn't cut any sleeve at all. All right, so let's line up our sides again. Now this is the outer part of my garment. If I were cutting a regular sleeve, this would be where my armhole would be. So this is my two sides. This is the side of my front and the side of my back, because remember I folded my fabric in 4. Now I am not cutting into it like, the only thing I would do for a sleeve is I would like mark, just estimate where I want it to be and just come in like this. That's all. I'm just marking freehand, no measurement, no ruler, no nothing. So let me bring the camera in close again. So I've just drawn this dark line here. If I were making a regular sleeve, this is where the armhole would be. I'm just cutting this out to give it some shape, and I think I could come even lower. I don't need a small sleeve. It's like a raglan, so I need my raglan. I hope I'm saying that right, a raglan sleeve. I would just cut it in like this. I hope that showed. Okay, so cutting time. So I'll just be on the safe side and cut a little lower down here. Like when I'm cutting, halfway through I'll change my mind about how big or small I want something to be. But if you cut small in the beginning, you can cut bigger. You can cut bigger at the end. But you can always adjust it. Like my mother always say, you can put salt in, but you can put more salt in, but you can't take it out. So if you already cut too much, then you are doomed. Better to cut too little. So I'm going to hold it up so you can see once I come back in focus. Am I back in focus? Okay, good. So this is what I have. It looks like a blouse because it has a sleeve and an armhole and a neckline. And I'm pretty much done cutting this. Now I'm going to put it together on my machine. right, so we are back at our sewing machine, or we're at our sewing machine, and I couldn't find any thread that matches this very unusual color, so I went ahead and strung my machine with transparent thread. It took me a while to say that. This is that transparent thread. It's like a fish line, except it's way thinner, and you are about to see the first time I ever used this thread. I have never stitched with a transparent thread before. I'll just tilt my camera down so you can see as I see for the first time. Oh wow, I can see my whole machine. Okay, fingers crossed, here goes everything. I'm going very slowly. My stitches are very small, which is weird. I'm gonna go very slowly. It's actually working, and the underside is very neat. Ah, I'm using a transparent thread. Woohoo! I bought it many years ago and I've never used it. It's like plastic. And you'll notice that I had to use white satin to face my top, because the fabric that I was showing in the video is the entire length and breadth of my fabric, and I didn't have enough for facing. We'll have to skip through this part. This is not necessary. This is just me attaching my facing very slowly, because satin is very slithery and needs to be guided properly, and I'm trying to be careful with this beta test, whatever that is. I'm beta testing this thread, so I have to be very careful. I don't want it to break. So far, so good. Let's pause because we don't have to see that. Okay, so now I have attached my facing. I don't know why that's always open. Now that I've attached my facing to my shirt, what you should always do for a nice flat clean finish is, again, I guess I'm going to call it gimp, but when you sew anything that's on a circle, you should always put notches or gimps or splice the inside of where you stitch. Like, so this is the edge. I stitched a 1/4 inch away from the edge, and I'm just going to put a splice right in the edge of the fabric so that it opens up nice and flat. You should always do this when you sew anything that is rounded, because right at the area where you stitched is a little wider than the edge of the fabric. So even if it's only a 1/4 inch you stitched in, I'm going to call it a seam, it will still be wider along the perimeter. And so when you splice it or notch it like this, you help to release the fabric. So when you turn it over and you are trying to lay, like say you're facing flat, it will lay nice and flat. This these notches also, they prevent fraying too, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to release my fabric so it lays flat. Whenever you sew anything that have any kind of a curve, even anything with corners, if you cut notches in it like this, it will allow it to turn over nicely and be flat. I don't know if you can see it, but you'd have to be seeing it. So I'm going all around and I'm putting these notches in it. This is something I learned from my mom, and I don't need this to be on video. All right, I've gone all the way around. All right, so Now I just have to turn my facing over, give it a top stitch so the facing stays in. And I'll do that now, nice and quick. My fishing line, transparent thread, actually did a good job. I had to stop to get some smoothie. Oats, oat milk. I use oat milk on oats. So oats, oat milk, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, walnut, pumpkin seeds, vanilla. I'm gonna go stitch from the other side because there's something right here that I don't understand. I'm gonna have to see why there's a thread sticking out. So let's go from the other way. Oats, oat milk, walnut, pumpkin seeds, Guinness, condensed milk, it's the Jamaican style, vanilla, and I think I did some nutmeg. That's a power protein shake, and I need it right now. All right, we don't need to watch me tops. Okay, so I am in the process of serging. I just closed my sides and serged them off. And now I'm serging my hemline. I was gonna make a string out of this fabric to use to run through the waist of it. But no, it just occurred to me that I have satin ribbons that I could use. I could use the entire satin ribbon as it is, or I could fold the ribbon in half and stitch it. This satin is just divine because it stretches, it feels so good. It's so soft, it's like a smooth bubble gum. Another time I would have considered making something else, something more fitted, because satin is hard to make a fitted dress out of. But stretch satin. Alright, so my serging is done. I'm gonna look what size ribbons I have that I can use to put in the bottom. So I just serged it off. Get that out of the way. I serged it, and now I'm gonna turn it in about 1/2 inch. I don't think I need more than 1/2, maybe 3/4, 5/8. So I'm gonna turn it in like this. But let me go see what size ribbons I have. Where are my shoes? Day, and by the time I'm done, I don't want to sew anything. But this is just, it was like I made like 3 cuts. 3 cuts. So it's like this. Ooh, I wonder if I can wear it as a dress. Not without getting arrested. So I just cut out the neck. I made the front lower than the back, even though I'm not showing it that way. I'm making the back lower right now. The front was lower than the back, so I made that cut. I cut off a little piece of the fabric was just a straight, like a rectangle. I cut a little bit in for the armhole, and that was it. I sewed a facing onto the neckline. I serged the edge right here and turned it up like 5/8 inch. I turned the bottom up another 5/8 inch, and I made a string, and I ran it through using a bobby pin, and this is what you get. The string feels so nice and stretchy too. I love this satin. I don't even remember where I bought it. I'm pretty sure it was a Garment District though, because I bought a lot of fabric in the garment. I can't wait to wear this with some white pants. This necklace is actually a belt. I do this a lot.